Ancient technologies. Comments. Ancient, like Atlantis or lost advanced civilizations, As you can see in this comment, so we have a conceptual high technology society that spanned the globe, and we have found not one tool, writing, or artifact of the technology. Seems to us to be frank. The statement is automatically incorrect. This idea that we haven't found tools, writings, artifacts, or technology of the high-tech society. Weird that the person doesn't realize what they said was incorrect. What you mean to say is we haven't found a lot of the artifacts and the writings and the tools and technology that we have found does not have on the back made in Atlantis or made in a lost advanced civilization. That's what y'all saying, which is annoying things to see over and over again. This ignorant idea of we need something that definitively, that just blatantly says it was made in a lost ancient civilization, lost advanced high-tech, civilization, whatever they call it, It's such a long phrase. That's why I like just using the term Atlantis. Atlantis, an advanced civilization, right? Atlantis. So instead of just, y'all want the proof of Atlantis existing, right? An advanced civilization in the past existing before our civilization, advanced civilization, right? To blatantly say that, oh, this comes from Atlantis, made in Atlantis. Y'all want big statues that says the king of Atlantis or some shit. Like, that would be awesome to find, no doubt. However, that's ignorant, because a lot of these other civilizations that we found so far, like the civilization Göbekli Tepe, there is no sign that says, oh, this is Göbekli Tepe. Right? I haven't seen anything that says that the name Göbekli Tepe is the actual name. It's just what we call it. But is that the actual name of the people? Is that the name of the place that the people that used to live there? Who's the king? Who's the leader? Who's the chief? Who's in charge? Right? Who are the people? Like, I don't know who live in Göbekli Tepe. I just know that it was found because it clearly was lost, and we found it. That's not the idea of something being lost. Is that it's yet to be found, not that it never exists. The whole absence of evidence is not evidence of the absence of something. It's because we haven't found Atlantis does not mean it never existed. It just means we haven't found it yet, right? But the logical, idea, right? The logic here is like, well, it could have existed, right? It's based off of the possibilities. Like, it's possible in the past, humans with enough time would have eventually created an advanced civilization, right? Or created a civilization similar to what we have now, where people are traveling, right? We have technology that we created to make our lives easier. It is possible because right now we're doing it. So it is possible in the past it also has been done. So it's very ignorant to say that, oh, in the past no one has ever got close to what we're doing right now. Bullshit. That makes no sense. I have some personal experience where there's people that I know, right, that I've met, young people younger than me, try to act like I never played basketball before, or I never did anything that they're doing before. They think they're so unique and original, like, oh, I'm doing things that you never did before. Bullshit. You're doing things that I definitely did. I did it when I was younger. Now I'm old. Yes, am I still doing that stuff right now? No, but doesn't mean I never did it before. I don't have to prove now that I did something in the past for it to have been something I did do in the past. My existence alone, the fact that I'm alive right now and I'm old, proves that I must have at some point in time in my youth have done things. It's like saying I never drank chocolate milk as a 5-year-old or something. It's like, how would you know? You weren't there. I was there, so I would know if I did or didn't, but you wouldn't know. But here's the thing: since you weren't there to confirm that I drank chocolate milk as a 5-year-old, you can surmise that if you have drank chocolate milk when you were 5 years old and you know you've done it, there's a possibility. And notice, listen to the words I'm saying. Possibility. I'm not saying definitive. I'm not saying absolute. I'm saying possibility. That means a maybe. Could have. That's what that possibility means. There's a possibility that when I was 5, it's the first time I drank chocolate milk. For all you know, I was 6 months old when I first tasted chocolate milk. You don't know. You don't know what my childhood was like, right? But you can surmise, you can theorize, you can assume the possibility that I did taste chocolate milk for the first time when I was 5 years or younger, right? If it can happen, it did happen. That's the way I like to look at it, right? If it can happen, it did happen, right? So, if we can build giant structures, then yeah, ancient humans could have figured it out and built giant structures. So yes, an advanced civilization in the past could have figured it out. And the funny thing is, a lot of the evidence that I see, a lot of the stuff that I've been proving, the funny thing is, I've been proving in Egypt, because there's a lot of information that says in Egypt they didn't have electricity. I have so far proven that's wrong, and there's other people who also has proven that wrong. There's people who say that Egypt didn't know what the wheel was. I proved that wrong, and other people are catching up to that. And Egypt only was just copper, at best maybe bronze they had. So all they had was gold, because we have gold death mask and stuff like that, gold items, copper. We have tons of copper items. So it's like, okay, we found a lot of stuff that they had made of certain materials, but doesn't mean that's all they had. We just have yet to find all the other stuff. But we have found some iron. There's iron all up on the Giza Plateau. There's information, if you look it up on YouTube right now, there's videos of people talking about iron in the Giza Plateau. So iron definitely existed in Egypt. So this idea that Egyptians didn't use iron, didn't have iron, bullshit. They definitely have it, a whole bunch of it, and they definitely used it. One of the pharaohs had a dagger made of iron. It was meteorite iron, but still iron nonetheless. And it was a dagger, so they definitely used the iron to make shit, like a knife, aka dagger. So it is highly possible for them to have created iron chisels, which would be nice to find to further prove that theory, right? Because we have enough evidence that they could have made iron chisels. But let's say we don't find no evidence of iron chisel. Okay, well, what else could we find? What else could they have used other than iron to chisel stone? You could say copper, but copper really ain't the best material to cut granite. And I've already tested it, and copper definitely doesn't work. What does work, however, is quartz crystals. Quartz crystals definitely work, and Egypt does have a lot of it. But anyway, I already made a video about that. You can go check out about the quartz crystals and me cutting granite with quartz crystals. It's the video where I say cutting granite with copper. In the video, obviously, I failed to cut granite with copper. I cut granite with sand, which has quartz in it, and a quartz crystal, because I have a whole bunch of quartz crystals I bought, and I'm able to use that to cut and grind and drill a hole into the granite. So there's that. So because there's other possibilities, other things you could use to do something, that's more likely what it is. So the lost ancient civilization, for all we know, they use whale bones as part of their technology, or they use stone. So we're out here walking around stone and stepping on top of stones and be like, man, where is the lost ancient civilization's technology? Where is it? And y'all literally just walking on top of it, not realizing that the stone on the floor was part of their technology. You'll find petrified wood, in stone, petrified wood, in any location or even in the ocean, and be like, oh, it's just petrified wood, nothing special here. It's like, that actually was a piece of a crane or a airplane or something. You don't know what they were using it for. But the thing is, how did it get there? How did the wood get there? And then look really closely. Was the wood ever cut? Was it ever cut, or did it like naturally break or something? Like why is there a petrified wood? And why is there petrified wood in stone? Was the stone ever was always stone, or was the stone once dirt, clay? Right? What if it was once mud and then over time it solidified and then eventually turned into stone? Which means there could have been a flood and mud could have covered over the technology. Maybe somebody made a house out of wood. It was a really cool house. It was very advanced, right? In construction, but then they got covered with mud, and the mud turned into stone, which petrified the wood because the wood petrified, being trapped in the stone. And then now we're like, okay, like we found petrified wood. That means nothing, but in reality, it's like it does mean something. This used to be part of a structure. This used to be part of something some human made, but because we don't have it in its original form, we're dismissing it. We're ignoring it. And then soon I'll make a video about like another video, because I already made a video about how ancient technology wouldn't look like what we think. Like we probably found ancient technology, like advanced technology, and we don't even think it's technology because we want to say it's ritualistic artifacts, or say that it's just jewelry. But in reality, it's technology, right? To me, jewelry is a form of technology, right? Because it more likely came from the idea of like, okay, we need some type of technology. So let me throw a little something about it. I've noticed that there'll be like some jewelry like from Egypt, or even like I see stuff from like the Aztecs or something like that, right? I'll see some stuff and I'll be like, that seems strange. That's a lot of that necklace has a lot of beads in it, for example. So it'll be a bead necklace and it'll just be really big, and it'll cover up the chest area, not the stomach area. It'll cover up the chest area specifically. And like, you have a lot of beads all up on your chest. Why? You don't need that much beads. Plus, it's heavy. It will have a considerable amount of weight. Why would you want to have something heavy around your neck and walk around with something heavy around your neck? Some people say, oh, it's just for fashion. It's to show that they're very rich and wealthy and they could afford to have that. It's like, okay, they want to be on the Mr. Teeth hip and be like, yo, look at me, I'm flossing, I'm flexing. Okay, we can assume that ancient humans were all about flexing. Like, okay, that's possible, because we do that now, so it's possible they did it back then. But another possibility, it could be armor. So I'm throwing a little preview here. Armor. I believe that a lot of these ancient humans, when they wore a whole bunch of beads, like big necklaces with a whole bunch of beads on it, it was actually a form of chainmail, basically. It was a form of armor. Because that's what I would do. If I lived in ancient times and I wanted something flexible, but I wanted it to be simple and easy to make, I would create chainmail, basically, or create something I can wear, especially put it around my neck, so that way it'd be in front of my chest, but also maybe set it up where it'd be behind my back, so that way I have armor in the front, armor in the back, and this will reduce me getting cut, stabbed, especially hit by a spear, right? So I'm looking at this like, yeah, this would be armor, and I had to double confirm if there's ever any depictions of or any evidence of ancient humans, warriors, right, who would fight in battle. Would they have been wearing this type of jewelry, right? Would be like, why would you wear jewelry to a fight unless it's actually technology, right? I mean, even in modern day times, when I was in the military, I have a watch. A watch is considered jewelry, but it's also technology, right? I will wear it because it has some function. It'll be useful in a combat situation when I need to know what time it is to go from point A to point B and to meet up with somebody. It's like, hey, let's meet up 20 minutes from now in this specific location, and then we go do what we gotta do, and then we meet up in 20 minutes. And the watch would be helpful for that process. But people will look at a watch like, oh, it's jewelry. It's something nice, something that looks cool to wear, yeah, but it also has a function. So what I'm saying is, jewelry has function. So in ancient times, jewelry had function. It was not just for decoration. It actually had a function. So that's what I'm trying to point at. Anyway, back to lost civilizations, us not finding their technology, blah, 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 and artifacts and writings and all that stuff. It was like, that's incorrect, because archaeology is all about finding stuff. The thing is that tends to happen a lot is if we did find evidence of Atlantis, for example, right, in Japan, well, archaeologists are not going to say, oh, here's the evidence of Atlantis. We found it in Japan. No, they'll be like, oh, we found some artifacts in Japan, and it's probably from a certain time period, an unknown time period in ancient Japan. So this is some Japanese stuff we found here. It's like, just because we found it in Japan does not mean it belongs to Japan, right? It doesn't mean that it's Japanese. We definitely can't go but like, oh, we found some stuff in Japan that, is ancient. We can't really identify, what it is, but because we found it in Japan, it probably was made by samurais. So samurais, lived in this mountain and created this technology. It's like, or my viewpoint is, it wasn't samurais. It wasn't even Japanese people, right? It was a different group of people who just so happened to be there, and you found their technology. But instead of trying to be open-minded to like, let's find out if this is who truly made the technology. No, we're just going to assume because we found it in Japan that it's Japanese technology. If we find something in Antarctica that is technology, now most people will immediately be like, oh, that's Atlantis technology right there. Yeah, there's some people who will say that. The Atlantis people would definitely say that, but archaeologists, would they say that? More likely not. What they would say is like, oh, we found some ancient relics. This probably was from the Neolithic era, or this was Neanderthals. This maybe was from a time where the Antarctic was less frozen, so maybe some hunter-gatherers came up here and left this stuff here. Like, they would try to find ways to not give any possibility, which is important, right? Or any credit to, like, you know what, this might literally be the evidence of Atlantis that every Atlantis person has been waiting for. Nope, they're just going to be immediately try to find a way to say that it's not, and that's the ignorant thing. It's like they'll be quick to try to find a way to say that it's not, instead of being open-minded that it could be, but then put time and effort into, trying to confirm, is it Atlantean technology they found, or is it just hunter-gatherers, Neolithic, or maybe some Egyptians, like, oh, here's some evidence that people from Egypt traveled to the Antarctic, and this is some of their stuff from, dynastic period, whatever, Egyptian dynastic period. It's like, okay, if you can prove it, that's one thing, but to just assume, like, okay, we found some stuff here, and we don't know who left it here, so we're just going to assume that it was left by whatever we say it was left by. We're not going to say it's Atlanteans because we're anti the mainstream archaeologists are anti-Atlantis. They're not even open-minded to the idea that maybe it's possible, and maybe someday we, the mainstream archaeologists, will be the ones to prove that Atlantis existed. I can respect that if that was their stance, that they're like, oh, we're interested in finding proof that it exists, but so far we haven't found it. We're digging, we're finding stuff, but we have not yet found Atlantis. All right, fair enough. I respect that if that's your stance. But mainstream archaeologists, that's not their stance. Their stance is Atlantis didn't exist, so Atlantis is fictional. Atlantis it has nothing to do with archaeology, so therefore they're going to be anti-Atlantis just because they want to believe what they want to believe, which is Atlantis wasn't real, and that's it. But it's like, wait, there was a time where Göbekli Tepe wasn't real. You know why? Because we didn't know they exist until we found it. But here's the thing. It does look like an advanced civilization, as in it was definitely a notch above hunter-gatherers. And that whenever somebody says advanced civilization, what they're saying is above hunter-gatherers, above using rocks as hammers and started to use steel as hammers, or using power tools, right? Or using math, which is very important, right? Math and geometry and science, and figuring out how to do things at a higher level than a rock smashing a rock. basically going from a toddler mentality to an adult mentality. Right? That's the thing. When I think of the idea of advanced technology, I'm thinking of like an old man, right? An old man versus a middle-aged 20-year-old man, right? Versus a toddler, right? So a toddler would be hunter-gatherers, but then a teenager slash 20-year-old man, that would be high tech, right? That would be, I use a water wheel as a power source to use to make this drill bit spin, and use this drill bit to drill stuff, or make a lathe using a water wheel, and then now I can make stone vases. That would be something somebody in their 20s, right, would be able to easily do, but a toddler wouldn't be able to easily do that. They wouldn't have the idea for that. They wouldn't have the skill for that because they're a toddler. So they would be more likely to grab a rock and start smashing a rock, right, on another rock, and maybe make a vase doing it that way. But the old guy, right, the guy over 40, right, the old man, he would be able to create a machine, right, that can do the work for him. It's like, all right, cool, here, put the stone in here, and the machine will automatically start, spinning and lathing, right? It will start taking pieces off of the stone, start drilling holes, do all the work, and then boom, there you go. Here's a stone vase, and I mass produce it. And that's the thing. At some point, when you become advanced, it just become easier to produce something, to turn something from an idea to reality. Oh, let me create a great pyramid, right? Goes from an idea to making it. Because kids, toddlers would take rocks and stack them on top of each other. Yeah, small rocks. Then you become a teenager, you start trying to build something with bigger rocks. But when you become an adult, an old man, that's when you start creating megalithic structures, that people can live in. I mean, think about how many kids made stuff out of Lego blocks. And then when they got older, they started making things out of sandcastles, or they made a tree house. Okay, but then when they became an adult, they became an structural engineer. They became an architect and started designing the Empire State Building, right? It's all progression. So ancient civilizations would have been the same way. At some point in time, somebody went from hunter-gatherers to megalithic structure builders, right? And to me, the lost advanced ancient civilization would just be a civilization that became master megalithic builders. Right? They would have become master stone builders, masters of geometry, masters of chemistry. They would have been a civilization very high in regards of science, material science specifically, right? Which is why they make stuff out of stone and granite. So hopefully that makes it. Hopefully you understand what I'm saying, what I'm getting at. This ignorant idea of like, oh, we haven't found evidence of Atlantis, when in reality, everything around us is evidence of Atlantis. Our own civilization, the fact that we exist right now, it itself is proof that before we existed, something else existed before us. Before our civilization, there was another civilization. And before that civilization, there was no one saying that Atlantis is the first civilization, period, or the first advanced civilization, right? It's not a placeholder for that idea of the first advanced civilization to ever exist. No, it's just a placeholder. It's just a way of saying there was a time where humans were really smart, right? Very creative, very skilled, and they created stuff, and then they shared that information with the rest of the world. There was a time where the whole world was more advanced than we think it was in the past. There was a time before us that the civilization on this planet was similar to us. They were high tech. They were, close to our level in a different way or the same way, right? So instead of saying that there was no lost ancient civilization, the past wasn't as advanced as we are right now, instead of being ignorant and believing that, believe the opposite, which is they definitely was advanced. There's definitely lost ancient civilization. And the reason why we say they're lost is because we haven't yet found them. Not that they don't exist, we haven't yet found them. Göbekli Tepe is definitive proof right there that yes, there's civilizations that exist in the past that we have yet to find, that we are unaware they existed until we find them. In other words, we don't know what we don't know. So we don't know Atlantis exists, right? So we can't say that it never existed. We just don't know that we don't know, right? That it did exist. So let's look for it. It would be cool. And plus, here's the irony. A lot of people who got into archaeologists, a lot of them got into archaeologists because of like Indiana Jones, Atlantis, Stargate Atlantis, or the Stargate movie. Like, that's the funny thing. Even videos on the internet of people talking about, oh, the Great Pyramid, I think aliens made it. Boom. And automatically people are interested in Egypt, in the Great Pyramid. But here's the thing. If the Great Pyramid was a tomb, no one would care. If it was a tomb, no one would care. It's like, okay, it's a tomb. Why is people spending hundreds of dollars and thousands of dollars to go look at a tomb? If it's supposed to be somebody's burial place, why are we there? We're literally walking around somebody's grave. Y'all don't consider that disrespectful? You don't consider that proof that it's not a tomb? To me, that's proof that it's not a tomb. Because I'd be damned if we as a human species are okay walking around somebody's grave. Just walking around like we own the place, like we're supposed to be there, walking around in somebody else's grave. I'd be damned if people think it's okay to turn my grandma's gravesite into a fucking tourist attraction where everybody wants to take selfies and make TikTok videos on my grandmother's grave. That'd be very disrespectful. So it's the same thing as being very disrespectful to a pharaoh named Khufu, and we're all up in his period walking around like we're supposed to be there. We're not supposed to be in there. He's supposed to be in there. And it's supposed to be closed, and we're supposed to leave it alone and respect it. That's supposed to be his grave. And we're there desecrating it, disrespecting it, making money off of it. That's very disrespectful. So I see that as very wrong. So no way, because here's the thing, if it's technology, then it's not a big deal that we're in there looking and being amazed by it. If it's a, ancient power plant, right? But if it's truly a tomb and archaeologists truly believe it's a tomb, why y'all letting people just walk in there, desecrating somebody's sacred burial place, somebody's tomb, somebody's burial site, somebody's grave? Like, to me, that's just proof that y'all don't believe it's a tomb because y'all not treating it with the respect that it deserves. Y'all literally letting a whole bunch of people walk in there and touch it, and take pictures in that, and make videos about somebody's final resting place. Y'all try to crucify Logan Paul when he made a video when he was in Japan and he went to a forest and there was somebody not alive hanging there in the forest. I made a big deal about that on the internet, but for some reason no one cares that we have a whole bunch of people every year walking inside somebody's tomb, walking around, taking pictures, and desecrating somebody's final resting place. I'm just saying, I'd be damned if y'all did that to me, to my final resting place. Just turn into a whole tourist attraction.